All right, Mustang family, welcome back to Mind of the Mustang, episode
7.
All right, episode 7. Sweet. Thank you, Dusty. Yeah, this is episode 7, and we have another great guest for you tonight. And the light is red. And once again, I'm remembering to say this at the beginning instead of the end. You can find our podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. What else?
That's it.
Dude, I got it down. Sweet. Yeah, so today is special because we're going to be talking about the centennial for Monte Vista Christian School. And it's 1926 to 2026. Monte Vista is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year. And that is not a small accomplishment for anything, for any life. Human life, animal life, life of a school, life of a church, life of a business. And so we're going to spend some time talking with our guest about that today. But before we introduce our guest, I felt like God kind of like put something on my heart in regards to that. So again, my name is Isaiah Guzman. I don't know if I said that already, but I'm your host along with Dusty Moniz, athletic director, co-host. But my wife and I, we were married on this campus. We started our first 5 years of our marriage on this campus. We felt like the king and the queen of this place when we were here. We were in the dorms, coaching, teaching. And when I say king and queen, I don't mean like status. I just mean like walking through campus and having so many beautiful relationships with students and families and teachers. And everywhere you go, some kid would be like, hey, Mr. G, hey, Mrs. G. And it was so full of life for us. But I was just kind of like thinking about that this week, about 100 years, and was thinking of 1 Corinthians 3, 6 through 8. And I just wanted to read it. And it says, it's Paul talking, and he says, I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the growth. So then neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who gives the growth. Now he who plants and he who waters are one, and each will receive his own reward according to his own labor. And I was just thinking about how people who are faithful to what God tells them to do, how it's not up to us to make the thing grow, but it is up to us to be faithful when God puts something on our hearts. And this school was started by people who were faithful to a vision that they had that God put on their hearts. And they started this little one-room school on this beautiful property in the country 100 years ago. And they did not have any idea that it would become what it is now, that it would be this huge place with podcasters, world-famous podcasters at that, a world-famous podcast, school buses, solar panels, boys' dorms, girls' dorms, athletic programs, theater, pool. What else is there here that I'm missing? Horses. I don't know.
Kids.
What else? Kids.
Oh, yeah. Teachers.
Yeah, there's people here too. There are no longer apples here, I don't think. There's no longer airplanes landing on the football field, but they never had that vision. They were just faithful to what God asked them to do, and he took care of the growing. And I've seen that over and over again with ministries, from YWAM to Teen Challenge to these ministries. I've read these books and these bios of people who started stuff, and they never had this grand vision to map out the plan, and this is our vision statement and all this and that. They just were faithful to what God asked them to do and let him take care of the rest. Amen?
Amen.
Sweet. All right, so our guest, which I forget where she went to college. We were having a debate about that. I think it was Wheaton. Hey.
All right.
But I did not know that she is originally from Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills are in the playoffs. I do not know if this person is a Buffalo Bills fan.
Don't even get me started.
Oh, shoot. All right, so we're going to have to, there's an easy tie-in to our sports and faith podcast here. So you've already heard her voice. I'm going to give her a little bit more intro, but please welcome to the show, head of school, Nikki Daniels. Welcome.
Thanks, guys. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the Bills or?
All I have to say is this is our year. And the 4 Super Bowls were the 4 years of my high school experience.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
I carry a lot of weight, a lot of baggage, and I just have a sense this is the year.
I'm feeling like I've said this before. Yeah, I've said it on this show that I feel like God cares about sports. Like he does. I mean, I think there's great stories in it. I think it can like glorify him. And Mirth and I watched have you seen the documentary, The Four Falls of Buffalo?
Cried like a baby.
Okay, see now. Have you seen it, Dusty, or no?
No, I haven't.
It's a 30 for 30 ESPN, The Four Falls of Buffalo, but it chronicles the 4 times that the Bills made it to the Super Bowl and lost all 4. And the kicker that part, the kicker.
Wide right.
Is that something wide right? The kicker in Buffalo. But man, that city, I will say, like, I always think of New York as this hard, tough, kind of mean, cold place. And I feel like what I saw is that the city of Buffalo, like, met him so graciously when he missed that kick and they came back to Buffalo.
Yeah.
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 They are salt of the earth in Buffalo.
Yeah, not like Boston and Buckeye,
Or Philly. Yeah. Philly gets a lot.
I have to say, I was watching the Eagles game the other night, and I'm like, they are booing their own guys.
They're
What
brutal.
the heck?
No, Philly. It's a city of brotherly love, but ain't no brotherly love with you.
athletics, yeah. Yeah.
That's good you were watching then. Okay. All right. But yeah, so Nikki, I just wanted we're happy to have you. And, I was just looking a little bit about what Monte Vista wants to celebrate this centennial. And you were saying, it's not just about parties and celebrations. It's really looking back and looking forward and looking present. And I know it says celebrating a century of purpose, presence, and promise. And also, like, I forget exactly the wording, but just deep roots, right? So maybe you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things I've been saying as we've talked about it on campus is just this idea. It's not just celebrating that we've been around for 100 years, because to your point earlier, yeah, that's a lot of time. But this isn't just about surviving and making a go of it and having something happening in a place. What we get to celebrate is 100 years of faithfulness and 100 years of steadfastness toward that same goal and that same purpose that God put on Aro and Nell Price's hearts back in 1926. So it's not just that we're still here, it's that we're still about the same business, and that the same storyline, there's a through line that weaves through all of it. And so, yeah, the theme of deep roots is, 100 years worth of faithfulness and just commitment to the Lord, but then also bold future. Not in the sense of, what we're going to achieve or any of those things, but knowing that our future is secure because of those deep roots. So we can move forward and look forward to the next 100 years, knowing that the same God who's been faithful in the first century is going to be equally as faithful in the second century. So that gives us this deep grounding and also just this ability to look forward with a ton of excitement and just possibility. Who knows what God is going to be about, but we're excited to see.
It's awesome.
Yeah. There's a sense of, I think, freedom in that too, to know that just being faithful to the mission that was established so many years ago. We don't know exactly what that may look like in the future, but we know that, as long as we are faithful to what God is doing in this place, it will go the right way for us.
Yeah, I love this quote. One of our alumni, class of 1953, she quotes this to me all the time. She actually said Aro Price, our founder, and then his son, Don, between the two of them, they ran Monte Vista the first 70 years of the 100. And she said that they used to say all the time, this is not my school. This is not your school. This is God's school. Yeah. And that just echoes in my mind day in and day out, seeking to lead this place, that, there's a freedom in that. And also just a reassurance that he's got it.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, this place, I didn't mention at the start, but like I was telling you before the show, like we did VBS here when I was a little kid, and it just felt like this was a sanctuary then. And then when I got older, I was writing for the newspaper. I was a sports writer, so I would come out here and cover sports teams, and then I would just feel his presence when I was here too. And instead of going back to the office and writing my story, I would sit on the bleachers here. I'm like, I feel more inspired to sit and write on a notepad here than I do in my office on a laptop, and I would stay here and write those stories. And then I developed friendships during that time at the newspaper. I developed friendships with the coaches here, and that's what led to me working here. I taught here for 5 years, but it's because I became friends with, at the time, Andre Dobson was a football coach, and we became buddies, and he invited me over to watch the Super Bowl. And I wasn't really walking with the Lord how I am now. I was like kind of new to the Lord. I wasn't new to the faith, but I was new in returning to the Lord. And like, so people here invited me in. That was how I started having Christian community again. And so like, even in that, like this place drew me in when I was a sports writer, kind of trying to find my way back to the Lord, So this place, I think when a place is anointed, I feel like it doesn't just lose that anointing,
Oh, absolutely. There's something very special that we've stayed true to our mission for 100 years and that we've been in this physical spot. And I hear those stories time and time again, different people from different eras, but the place that this physical space occupies in different stories of God at work in lives. I mean, you could write books upon books about it.
Totally. Or stories like I did.
Yeah.
I got some cool ones I'm thinking of. There's like a couple of kids from Africa that were playing soccer here. I remember talked to the coach after a practice, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they're refugees from Darfur. I don't know if you remember. There was like the Lost Boys of Sudan, right? And they were here. They were staying with a family here, and they both played soccer here. And it was so cool getting to write that story. I remember them telling me how these guys they'd never been to. They took them to a buffet when they first got to the U.S. and both of the boys just got like rice and like fruit on their plate, and their hosts were like, "Dude, lasagna, like steak, everything, go for it."
Right.
And they're like, they had never seen any of those other foods before. So they only ate what was familiar to them, But just cool stories like that of people taking in kids like that,
Yeah. It's so cool too that Monte Vista, and I don't know the exact history, but we've been a boarding school
From day one.
Yeah. Oh, really? From day one.
Yeah. When they opened in 1926, they had 45 students. 31 of them lived in the ranch house that the Murphys had moved out of and pitched the tent in the front yard so they could have the building. And it was school, it was cafeteria, it was home, it was all those things. And then over the years, and for many, many years, there was a larger boarding population than there was day student population.
Right.
It was really only in the 70s, I think, that we started busing locally. So we had day kids that would get driven in and everything, but that really was where that shift started. But yeah, a boarding school was really our core identity for many years. And sometimes I think that's part of what caused those roots to go so deep, because for so many years it wasn't just school that a kid would show up to for the day. I mean, it was all of it. And the alum I mentioned earlier, the graduate of the class of 53, she was a boarding student from American Samoa, and she literally came and stayed for, I think, 2 or 3 years straight. Like she wasn't able to go home on the breaks, and so she stayed with the Prices and became kind of part of their family. And I know her story is not unique. I mean, it really was a holistic experience, and so I think God really used that opportunity to go deep in those lives. And then from there, they went out and continued the heritage. So, yeah, there's something really special about those early years. And then I love that we've been able, it looks really different, obviously, but that boarding has stayed a part of our story all these years. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool because, I mean, my first stint, and I don't know if I've ever talked about this on the show before, but my first stint here 10 years ago was largely because of my background in boarding school. And I came to work in the boys' dorm, actually in both dorms, but with Isaiah, actually. We both worked in the dorms for a period of time. And
I always hired my wife as a girls' dorm.
That's right, yeah. And I always felt like, and I continued after Monte Vista to work in a boarding school, and I'm back here. And I've always felt like it was kind of like the mission field coming to you. And am I correct with the football field being a place where like missionaries would land a plane? Like I know I've heard that it used to be essentially like a little airport, but
yeah. So there was a time when Don Price put an airstrip in out there, that strip from all the way up at the water tower, which is kind of elevation at the top, all the way down through the stadium. And yeah, part of that was, I guess he was just a crazy airplane aficionado, and it was kind of fun for him. But then also it would allow people to fly in and fly out. So there were missionaries who were able to, fly in, drop off their kid and fly out. So
I'll imagine that today. He's crazy. No, it's all right. Don't land a plane on our turf.
Just a helicopter. Yeah. A drone. That's crazy.
That is.
So, all right. So when I heard you were coming on, the first thing I thought was, shoot, me and Dusty are in trouble. We're going to the principal's office. What did we say? No, but I was thinking I think you said she asked to be on the podcast. I'm like, that's me asking my kids if I can come in their room. I'm like, yours. Can I play with your toys, guys?
No, agenda.
No, I know, but that's cool. I guess it's part of the world famous thing. You just we're growing in stature. No, but I was looking back over the other headmasters leading up to now, so I just wanted to go. And I'm surprised you know your history, because I was reading some of the stuff I know some of it too, just from working here and then having lived with people up the road that were the Price family and hearing some of that history. But we should have done a little pop quiz for the show today to see what you know, but that's pretty good. So the headmasters leading up to now, R.O. Price and his wife, what was her name?
Nell was her name.
Nell. They founded the school, right? And so he served as headmaster here from 1926 to 1957.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then his son, Don Price, took over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he ran the school from 1958 to 1996. I was surprised with how few headmasters there were. I was expecting to see a list of like 20.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And then came Clark Wetzel, right?
Yeah. But I have to back you up there. We would be
Go.
remiss if we did not talk about Martha Price, too.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
Same thing, R.O., but he had Nell by his side, and then Don, and Martha was a huge part of that ministry and that leadership, too.
Absolutely. And she lived on campus until she passed away. What year was that she passed away?
2018, and I knew that I came to Monte Vista in 2017, so I was fortunate enough to get to meet her.
Yeah.
And then that spring, she passed, and we have been able to renovate their home into Martha's Home, which is our daycare for our faculty and staff, and
So cool.
just love, that is the way in which we get to use that space. It's really
So
cool how God orchestrates that stuff.
Totally. And I remember when I started here, she was still here, and I would see her at the cafeteria sometimes. Cafe. It's high end. Yeah. I think high school cafeteria, like, this is a cafe. If you got chocolate dipped strawberries, I remember I used to tell my students.
Bento boxes. It's a cafe.
Yeah. Well, my students would come in.
You get a latte.
They would complain about something when I was teaching 6th grade. I'm like, you guys got chocolate dipped strawberries at lunch. You have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, I know.
And okay, so then after the Prices was Clark Wetzel, 97 to 2004. Mm-hmm. I don't know his wife's name.
I don't either, actually. Yep.
And then Steve Sharp, and I got the chance. Sharp was 2005 to 2017. And then Mitch Salerno, 2016 to 2021. And then Nikki Daniels, 22 till now, right? Mm-hmm. So I got to work with Steve Sharp and Salerno briefly. Mm-hmm. Never had a chance to work for you, but just everybody that I talked to here, just honestly, I think back on those headmasters, the ones that I worked for, and they all had their strengths and they all had their weaknesses. Like Sharp was loosey-goosey. I think I shared on the show one time that he was totally fine with my brother skateboarding here. He's a professional skateboarder, like filming for a video part, as long as he got the Monte Vista logo in the background. And he wasn't worried about liability. And then Salerno came in, and I feel like Salerno tightened it down a little bit. He would never have allowed that to fly, right? But he tightened up a lot of stuff here too, And then you come in, but really people that I talk to, I'd say they don't say that they work for you. They say they work with you. And that's like a compliment. Yeah. And so I don't know what your weakness is, but I haven't heard it yet.
I don't think that's how they put us on.
But, and then, so you guys, I want to hear a little bit about your story, how you came to Monte Vista, how it happened that you became head of school, and maybe like share a little bit about your family too. Ryan is your husband, right?
That's right.
And your girls, I don't know their names, but maybe share about your family, your girls, and maybe some of your story about how you came here and how you're here where you are now.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So you mentioned Wheaton College. Beginning. That's where I met my husband.
Chicago, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And from there, I got into, actually my early career was in fundraising. And so I was doing fundraising for Christian higher education and kind of thought that was going to be that was going to be the path. And God swoops in, as he always does, and corrects the path for where he wants us to go. And he led me to a Christian high school, which was something that was never on my radar before. This was out in Chicago. We were living in Chicago. And I'd gone to public school all my life. My dad was a public school math teacher, guidance counselor. I had never known anything different. And it was really that experience at my first school. I was there for a decade. And during that time, it was no coincidence. God had me. I found out I was pregnant with my first child the second day of work at Wheaton Academy. That was the name of that school. And so I became a parent at the same time that I was learning what the meaning of Christian education at the secondary level is. And so the combination, I think, of those two things, I just fell in love with and gained a passion for the difference and the impact that I could see Christian education having in the children around me. Knew I wanted that for my own children, and then to make it possible for as many other kids as well. So really that was kind of the beginning of that journey. Was there at Wheaton Academy for a decade, and then actually presented at a conference and got chatting with a fellow Wheaton College alumni who said, hey, I just took over as headmaster at a school out in California, and I could use some help. And my first comment, California, are you crazy? That's pretty much your standard Midwestern.
No, I mean, that's standard rest of the country response.
But long story short, and again, God swoops in and he writes our stories as he knows they need to be. And so, yeah, that was 2017. And we ended up moving out here for Monte Vista for that role that I took as assistant head at the time. And was blessed to serve those first 4 years under Mitch Salerno's leadership. And then fast forward to 2021, and he calls me one weekend and says, "Can we meet?" Like on a Saturday, and I'm thinking, "Uh-oh, either I'm getting fired or he's leaving." And so, sure enough, God was calling him and his family back home to Florida, and so that wasn't a transition that I saw coming.
Wow!
But again, God swoops in and He writes the story. So it was a pretty wild and crazy time. It was kind of, you can think back, 2021, the middle of pandemic. At least still in California it was. I know for others it was in the rearview mirror by then, but for us, we were very much in the midst of it. So those were some exciting days, but God was faithful and brought us through. And yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, high highs, low lows, and everything in between to be leading here at Monte Vista. But as you already said, this is a very special, special place. And it's just a privilege for my family and I to be here. So speaking of them, yeah, my husband Ryan and I have been married 26 years now. Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds old.
That's good.
And then we have 3 children. My oldest is a senior at Monte Vista right now. So I'm feeling all those feels, learning empathy for our senior parents.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big. And then I actually have a son tucked in between the girls there, and he is a sophomore here at Monte Vista. And then I have an 8th grader. She's our family caboose. And so, yeah, all 3 of them are here with me. Naomi is my 8th grader. Yeah. She's my little lacrosse, basketball, cross-country girl. And then Thomas is my sophomore. He's a golfer. And then Linnea is my oldest. And she's been an equestrian girl all these years. So
I can't imagine what that would feel like. So your first one is almost done.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely changing all of our perspectives, I think. I feel like we're just learning to savor the dinners together, the runs to the grocery store, all those things. And it sounds like such a cliche, but it goes,
no.
It goes so fast.
My daughter started kindergarten this year, and I was getting emotional having her leave the house and start kindergarten.
Yeah.
And I go to work anyhow. It's not like I see, but it somehow felt like I'm seeing her less,
Yeah.
So I can totally relate to that. Have there been tears from you yet then, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, for sure. My husband is actually a licensed mental health therapist, so that comes in handy.
So you're going to have to run graduations here, but you're going to be like a wreck and trying to, you have to speak at graduation and somehow keep it together.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting for sure.
That's crazy.
So one of the things that, I just knowing heads of school and seeing the way you operate here, and just how because every head of school, it's like all these kids in some way are yours. It's like all these families are yours. Everyone is. And so, and then you get to feel the weight of all the little things that, come through the door, the ticky-tacky stuff, both good and bad. And how do you just manage that? Because, the side I see is like you manage it really well. Like you're very upbeat personality but when you take that home and then you have your kids that you're also so invested in and your husband, and it's just like, and I know I kind of already know the answer. I know a big part of your life is your faith, but I think for athletes sometimes too, and for all the folks listening, it's like, I think you seem to handle it really well, and how do you kind of go about doing that?
Yeah, it's funny. It actually ties back to some of what we've already been talking about. Even when I was sharing that quote about it's not my school, it's not your school, it's God's school. Like that reality and that perspective really helps to put things in perspective when those hard times do come. So it's this idea that what is happening in this place, His hand is upon it. He has ordained it. Nothing is happening at Monte Vista that is outside of God's control or His purview. And yeah, He's using me and He's put me in this position, and I need to be faithful in that for sure. But at the end of the day, he's got it, and I have to trust that first and foremost as a leader, but even just as a human and as an individual and as a Christ follower myself. So it's that kind of understanding of how Monte Vista works, but then also that understanding of my own identity. And I know, the kids probably roll their eyes when I start talking about identity, but I think that is the most important thing that we can give our students, is just an understanding of who they are in Jesus Christ, who they are in his eyes. And if we can help them, and it doesn't happen overnight, and we all know as adults we struggle with it still, but to get them to taste what that feels like, to know that you are a beloved son or daughter of the Most High King, and to center back or to want to come back to that constantly.
Right.
Because everything else around them is pulling for them to get their identity in that. So, whether it's sports, whether it's arts, whether it's friendships, whether it's appearances. And we're all in that culture, too. We're just further along in it. All those loud noises pulling, wanting them to put their identity there. If we can help them just get one little taste of what it's like to know your true identity in Christ, I believe those are the seeds. And, you were talking about that at the beginning, Isaiah. We plant and we tend, and then God is the one that grows those seeds. So it's kind of a long way of answering, Dustin, but I feel like if my understanding of ministry at Monte Vista as God's and his to take care of, and my understanding of my own identity as his beloved, who he is using for his purposes in this place, if I can keep that perspective, it certainly doesn't solve everything. It doesn't mean that there's not super hard days, but it just gives a foundation, and it gives a steadiness that I don't know how you'd find that anywhere else, honestly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, the reason why I wanted to ask you that question so much is because it's like I'm always looking for ways to take the anxiety out of athletics that I know exists for kids. And, one of the pillars that we talk about all the time is your identity, and it's just, I think what that does when you have your identity firmly rooted in Christ, and listen, I'm not perfect. Like I lose sight of this all the time, and I know our athletes probably do and our coaches do, but when I am not losing sight of that, we have a richness and a freedom that I think is what allows us to be present and actually, there for the game.
Yeah. Well, and to truly be excellent, honestly. I mean, it's not a matter of, let's put this aside and decrease the importance or the focus on it. No, it's let's keep it in its correct perspective. Yeah. Because when it is in that broader context, that's when we're freed up and we're not needing identity things out of it. So we can actually the excellence flows more fully from that, because we're
there's no performance anxiety.
Yeah. We're I love that people talk a lot about, holding things loosely and just that open-handedness with your life and your talents and your future, not because you don't care, but because you trust who's going to pick it up when you release the grip.
I have kids ask me all the time, like, how do you enter the flow state? Like, they want to be in that flow state. And the reality is you got to get rid of all those questions and just be focused on what you're doing. And you can't do that if your identity is caught up in all these other things. So,
yeah. I think for student athletes listening to, or just students, like, I think when we say identity, because they hear adults say identity, like, I think it means, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like if you tomorrow woke up and you were not head of school of Monte Vista, like, that's not your everything, right? That your title is not who you are. Yeah. And for athletes too, they're like, because I hear it a lot from, like, especially guys, like, I'm a football player or I'm a baseball player, and like, no, you play baseball, you play football, but you are not a football player. And like, and I think you're right. I think different seasons in life, we all have identities like that, whatever it may be, But it's like, I think you're right. If you keep things in their proper place, I think you can actually find more enjoyment out of them. Like, you hear it all the time. These pro athletes, they win the Super Bowl or they win the World Series and they feel empty. And Tom Brady talked about that too, right? And it's because you hold this thing as everything. And then that's bad either way, because if you win it and you get it and it doesn't do everything for you, that's a scary place to be. That's like an empty place. But then also, if you don't get it, you lose, that's also a scary place to be because you thought it was everything. You didn't get it. So
it's idolatry.
It is.
That's what it becomes. Right?
But when you keep it in its right place and God is at the center, when you win that thing, it's sweet. It's like almost sweeter because it's in its right place and you can appreciate it and not have it be everything. You just enjoy it for what it is. And then if you don't get it, then it doesn't like crush you. It doesn't break you. It doesn't end your world, you know?
And if you worked hard and you did what you used the gifts God gave you and you did your best to persevere and stuff, right? Still honoring him. You don't have to win to honor God, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that's one of the secret sauces of Monte Vista. So going back to what we were saying earlier about this place has been so life-giving for generations of people, so many people. It holds this special place for what they experienced and what they learned and even just the presence that they sense on this campus. And I think that's a unique piece of who we are because we are influencing our students to have that perspective. We are actually helping them to free up from this other baggage. And so they are experiencing a lightening or a freedom that they wouldn't have if we didn't have that piece. Like if our first and most important core value was not make Christ known, we would not have the impact on student lives that we have right now. That is, it's first for a reason.
Totally.
I don't think campus would be as joyful as it is too. And I've always said that, like when people ask me how Monte Vista, like what characterizes it, like one of the things I've always said, and part of the reason I was so excited to come back is I was just like, there's joy on that campus.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel that with our kids and with the faculty and staff and our parents. And yeah, it's one of the things I love about it.
Oh, man. So here's my quintessential Monte Vista story. So my first year, I'm learning all the things and, so many things that are like, what in the world? But the pinnacle was graduation that first year because, I'm from the East Coast. Then I was in the Midwest for 20 years. I had never seen I was like, is this a frat party or a graduation? Because, the stuff on the hats and the leis and so much stuff.
You talk about the students or the people in the family? Okay, yeah.
Everybody. I come from places like, please reserve your clapping until the end. And they were like air horns and cowbells and yeah. So that to me is so emblematic of who we are. It is. It's life-giving. It's joy overflowing. But it's not just about having a good time. It's coming from this place of fulfilledness and contentedness.
Serious. Yeah. That's what we talk about. Me and Dusty always joke about the difference between East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah.
I lived on the East Coast for a while, so it's like type A. Dusty's theory is that like all the type B personalities basically got in stagecoaches and came out here.
Yeah, that's it. They're
they're all the free spirits. Yeah. Like, let's go out to the open. Like,
let's go. It's a form of natural selection. They just
all the type A people like, what are you talking about? We've already established something here with structure. Where are you going?
It's dangerous out there.
We like freezing our butts off every year for 6 months out of the year.
Serious. I was actually going to ask you. That's a good lead-in. I was going to ask you what do you think has been the hardest thing about adjusting to California, to Babylon?
Yeah.
No, I mean, we love it out here. I have learned more about life, more about ministry, more about Christ in my 9 years here than many others combined. I think for us, probably the hardest part is being away from family, right? Yeah. And that's just always a challenge. But, God called us in different seasons to different roles. And he's been faithful. And wouldn't want it to be anyplace else.
Do you miss the seasons on the East Coast?
I got to tell you, I don't. My
really?
family does. My kids are like, jumping in the leaves. And I'm like, raking the leaves.
Raking, yeah.
And then they're like, snow. And I'm like, don't you remember how you get like this ice, the salt that like creeps up your pant legs?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I'm like, no, don't miss it.
Totally.
I'm like you. I'm like, I don't miss the frost on the windshield and that whole every morning. And
serious.
I miss hockey a little bit, but that's pretty much it.
You can watch.
So I did go see a Sharks game last week.
I say,
yeah, there we go. We're good.
And then you stepped outside and it was 75 degrees.
Yeah, and I like hockey even better when I step outside.
Yeah, you don't have to bundle up. Well, being that this is a sports podcast, sports and faith, I've seen you many mornings running, right? So faithfulness. We started the show talking about faithfulness. Are you still, I haven't seen, but are you still running in the mornings? I know you were pretty
Yes, but
religious.
here's the distinction.
Okay.
I always tell people I jog.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Don't run.
no, I'm not about speed. I'm just about getting out there and moving and the fresh air.
But
and,
you're working though.
This gorgeous location.
Yeah.
There's something so sweet about it. So yes, I am a jogger.
Okay.
What is your like distance? Like how far do you know how far you go?
No, see, that's the thing.
Because we are starting a Tough Mudder team with Eric Beckman.
Oh my gosh.
We're looking to add some people. We thought you might be interested. Apparently, you get shocked and
Yeah, you did that. That's a Spartan races. You won't get shot.
oh yeah, it was
Throw a spear though.
Spartan.
That's Spartan.
No, my standard is 20 minutes out, 20 minutes back.
Nice.
And
That's a good one though.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah, you're disciplined about it. Did you play sports in high school or middle school or anything like that?
You know, it's funny. I did not. I come from an incredibly athletic family. I have a brother that's 6'6", played college basketball,
Wow.
9 yards. My dad and all his brothers are in the athletic hall of fame at my high school and all this stuff. So I think I just was like, I'm not like a fabulous athlete, so I'll just do other things. So yeah, I never gave it a try, but I grew up under the bleachers and, at games and all those things. So I do love athletics, but as a fan.
And your husband, I've seen him. He golfs, right? I've seen him up on the baseball field with your son, like practicing their chip shots, right?
Yeah, that was a COVID thing. So what in the world are we going to do to pass the time?
Yeah.
So he just literally took my son up to the JV baseball field to chip around. And back then he was driving because he was so tiny he couldn't drive it any further than the field. But he really took to it, and so that has become Thomas's sport. And then Ryan's kind of been along for that ride and enjoyed getting out there as well. So,
did Ryan always golf?
kind of, but not anything like what they do now. So it's this trick, this youth on course thing. So it's $5 for the kid, but the dad still
it's so cool.
But it's a shtick if you ask me. But no, they have a great time. They love getting out there.
It's so cool to have a hobby that like your son is interested in. You get to go kind of do that with him.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah,
they have a lot of fun.
It's cool. So I was thinking this too, just back to sports. Like obviously you have your athletic director here, but you're his boss. So, so I was just curious, like what do you foresee or hope to see with sports?
Well, let me get my notebook out, Robert.
Well, he's like, actually, is this a work meeting right now or a podcast?
We asked Dustin.
Let me
does Nikki
guess what Nikki wants
on the spot
you to do.
Or I
feel like we've had this conversation, have we?
It was in your interview, actually. Or maybe, something like that. Something unique to you that you've seen through Monte Vista Athletics, or, you shared like a personal story, like that first graduation. I don't know. Maybe it's something that you hope to see in Monte Vista Athletics, or something that is unique that you have seen already that you really appreciate, or, Centennial, looking forward. And
Yeah. Well, I would say honestly, the name of the podcast here, this Mind of the Mustang, I know this is something that I've heard Dustin articulate often in his even just short time back here, and I could not be more excited about all the possibilities that kind of philosophy can have for our athletic programs. It kind of goes back to what we were saying when our student athletes have the mind of the Mustang, which, we're meaning in the terms of just their own identity spiritually, their own identity emotionally, just who they are, then it will free them up. So when I say, it's, the most important thing is the mind of the Mustang, it doesn't mean that wins and losses are not important. It means that type of mentality, that unity, and those commitments to those core values, those will lead to that success on the field or on the court for sure. So that is important. But the good news is you get to start in that place of, kind of shaping their mind, shaping their hearts. And I would say just, whether it's my time at Monte Vista or just throughout my career as a whole, athletics is a uniquely powerful tool in the life of a young person. A million different reasons that you guys could articulate probably better than I, but I have seen it time and time again. The ability to reach a child and to really get at their heart, that's going to come so much more easily through athletics. And arts has some parallels as well for the kids that are passionate about that.
Yeah.
But you get further in the locker room than you do in the classroom any day. So
Big time.
Yeah,
Just bring
a
stuff.
huge responsibility for coaches, you know. And I remember when I first started coaching, I had a mentor, you know, Keithley, for sure, when we were coaching,
Yep.
you know, here at Monte Vista. Shout out Keithley.
Keithley.
Talk about Keithley a lot. He gets a lot of...
Shout out Don Keithley.
Yeah.
He's actually a sponsor of this show.
He's definitely listened to some of these. I know that, right? So
just know Don's awesome.
Yeah.
But you know, I think he put that on all of our hearts of like, hey, this is a big responsibility because, and it can't be something that we just breeze over because they're going to be listening to you, they're going to be watching you as a coach, and you may be the most influential adult in their life.
Absolutely.
And I heard a parent talk to me the other day. I forget who this was. I can't remember, but they were saying how they love that a coach can fit, like, as a parent, and I'm not a parent yet, but I think a lot of parents, they give their kids great advice, and then their kids become teenagers, and they're just looking for that one other person to maybe back them up on something they've been telling their kid for like 5 years.
Kids are
You know?
sick of the sound of our voice.
That's right. And then, you know, here enter this wonderful coach who's a great mentor, and they happen to say the same thing, and it clicks.
Yes.
And it's probably a little annoying for the parent, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I think it's a beautiful thing when done right. You know,
Absolutely. And we talk a lot about that homeschool partnership here. And that's what we're referring to is like let the teacher / coach and the parent all be rowing in the same direction. That creates a powerful momentum in the life of a teenager.
Big time. So your kids are involved in athletics here. Then what would you say, mom, Nikki now, what mom of athletes, what would you say is the hardest part about being a mom to student athletes, or maybe mom and head of school to student athletes? Like,
I have to be really careful what I scream and yell. But actually, my kids have chosen really unique sports, right? So like horseback riding is kind of its own separate world, and nobody screams in golf. So that's all fine and good.
it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, I think that's where it's some of the philosophy of what we've been talking about what's truly important and who we are and what our identity is. That gets tested for us as parents when our kids are out there competing. Because the truth is, yes, we view them in that way, and that is the truth of who they are and what we want them to believe. But we also just really want them to do well. And it's not because we want to achieve or look good. Our heart is running around on that court or that field or, standing on that pitching mound like it is.
Or on the bench. That's whatever.
Yes.
which is even harder. Yeah.
It's like an out-of-body experience. And so, I just have a ton of empathy for parents of just it's a wonderful place. There's nothing like it. You get to have experiences and conversations with your kids that you never would apart from that. But it is a very vulnerable place to be.
Yeah.
And, it's a great teachable moment when it goes poorly, but don't fool yourself. It is painful for the parent just as much as it's painful for the student.
That's so good that you said that, because we were just talking to Brian Smith, the author of Away Game, I think 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah.
And
We've only done 7. So
he was telling that story about he's writing the book on how to parent your child, and he's like yelling at a referee in a game. And it's like, so parents, there's empathy, from all of us here, and at the same time, please don't get thrown out of games.
yes.
But
Please
the
do wear your
league
monitor.
really frowns on that, and we do too as well. But
Yeah.
it is hard. I mean, you said it perfect. Your heart's running around on the field.
Big time. That's funny. As you're talking, I remember a story. Here's a Nikki Daniels sports viewing. We were watching the varsity game up here, and I feel like you're just kind of an even keel person, and we're just talking, having this calm conversation. But there was 2 Monte Vista students on the softball field screwing around. I forget what they were doing, and Nikki breaks away. She's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" Like, and I saw like, I'm like, oh, I was like, 'cause like I've seen you as head of school, and like but I'm like, okay, Nikki can hang in education. I never saw like the teacher side. I'm like,
She was still raised in New York.
Yeah, I was like, you might have said knuckleheads or something, maybe not. But you're like, what do you got? And they look like they're like deer in the headlights, like busted and like off the field. And you're like, anyhow, as I was saying,
It's all for their own safety.
it was funny. Well, yeah, I guess as we land this plane, Monte Vista, pun intended, the Mustang
Not on the
P-51
on the turf. Yeah. People, not everybody knows that the Mustang is referring to a Mustang, P-51 Mustang, right? Fighter plane.
I don't know. That to me may be folklore.
It might be, but you know the
eye.
But you know the eye on the horse is
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
definitely a thing.
Yeah.
So I went
Yeah,
2
that might be
years of
folklore.
not knowing that. Like that was news to me when I got here this time.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
somehow I never.
Well, the logo changed since last time you were here too, though.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, was it? So we didn't have the eye with the.
You didn't have so you didn't miss it, dude.
What did we have? Like
Just the MVC. There was like kind of cursive looking.
there was no horse involved.
Oh yeah, it's
it's
the horse with like he's got a longer mane. It's like Fabio.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
It's California horse.
flowing in the wind. Yeah, it's just a different horse. But
Okay.
yeah, the P-51 I came in 2016. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
It is.
When you first see that plane in the eye, you're like, whoa, that's neat.
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else you would like to share about the Centennial? I guess going forward, like stuff that's coming up, or just other. This is like our spot to get information out to the Mustang family, right? Things you'd like people to know.
Yeah, I would just say, it's going to be 18 months worth of celebration. And the goal is to make it big enough and broad enough that every single Mustang can feel a part of it. So there will definitely be the historic stuff. And we are going to be celebrating our founders and those that came before us and all the good things that happened along the way. But we're also going to be celebrating the community that is here, right now, and the students and the faculty and staff and this chapter of our history, because all of those core values that have stayed steady for 100 years, they're now embodied in them as well. So there's a Centennial weekend that's coming up the first weekend in October. That'll be the kind of main event. There'll be a big gala and big picnic, all kinds of fun things. But even leading up to that, we're going to be celebrating 100 acts of service that our students and our faculty staff are doing right here, right now. We're going to be celebrating 8 Centennial honorees that have been selected from across the eras that really embody the best of who we are. But we're also going to be celebrating other lives of significance that have played important roles throughout our 100 years. So it won't be one day, one weekend. It'll be over the course of time.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited because I think this idea of being part of the story, whatever juncture or place you were a part of it, there's something really unifying and really inspiring and really special. I mean, it's a privilege for us to be a part of this place. And so that's something worth celebrating.
It's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you, Nikki. I know that you're busy, and like what I love is you've always taken time out. Like even when I don't work here, I still don't. So I guess I can say whatever I want here, Dusty. Dusty can get fired. But I know I'm a total fixture.
Yeah.
You didn't know who I was. You're like, seems like people know this guy. He's always walking around campus. Like, but you took time out for me before and just sat and talked with me like about ministry stuff. And I don't think I've seen anybody be so involved with the local church community as you. Just even the prayer breakfasts and reaching out to people, different churches, and understanding. I think that the mantle that Monte Vista carries in terms of being this like, it's like this gathering place of different churches across different counties and really like unifying the greater church, you know? And so you've done something special in that regard that I don't think was done here before.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a sweet opportunity. We have an amazing faith community in this area.
Yeah.
Very unique and very special.
Yeah, well, you've handled it well, so it's cool. And I've been at the breakfast; they're awesome. The food is great. So, Dusty,
Let's. Are we ending this? Are we getting to the wire here? Because I had something that I was gonna ask.
no, fire away, dude.
Okay, yeah.
We can shop the middle of the show if it's boring. People can skip ahead. So
One-liners, yeah, yeah, or the little clips we can put on Instagram. What would you say to just like if you had to give a 30-second pep talk to the Mustangs, the athletes out there, or even maybe those participating in the arts and things like that? Like, I know you've already talked about identity, but if you could just kind of like speak directly to them, like what would be something that, and I know I'm putting you on the spot, but I feel like you got it. So give us like a 30-second little pep talk.
Yeah, I would just say to our students that you have the freedom to go out there and be 100% who you are. There is no required achievement. There is no box to check or expectation to fulfill. The adults in your life, and that means people like you guys, the coaches, all the teachers, faculty, staff, and the parents, like, we have got your back. We are here for you. And there's nothing that you need to do, achieve, or maintain in order to earn that love, that affection, and that support. So we've got you. So just go out there, work as hard as you possibly can, do your very, very best, and come home with your head held high, whether that was on the court or the field, whether that was on the stage. And just know that those same supports and those same adults that love you no matter what, we're here waiting for you. And we're going to celebrate you no matter what.
That's huge.
That's awesome.
The fear of failure can be so powerful, but what do you call it? Just the reassurance of knowing that you're loved no matter what, failure or success, that can free you up to actually succeed.
Yeah.
Well, and also let your failures be lessons instead of like crushing, right? So like when you go out in the field and it doesn't work out, or something doesn't go right in the classroom, or whatever it is, you can take that as information, take it as something that can, hopefully better you the next time, instead of something that just kind of crushes your spirit.
Yeah. It does not define you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thanks for getting that in, Dusty. We keep having this segment. We try to call it Coach Speak, and it's supposed to be like halftime. It's like the coach giving that halftime talk when a team is down it, and we're supposed to put it in at the middle point of the show.
And we have only done that once.
Well, I would be a bad person to start that with anyway, so you can save it for the next guest.
All right, you will. But I'm actually pulling for the Bills. I'm pulling for the Bills. So
Not.
I am.
You not.
I'm an underdog guy.
If you're a Patriots fan, it might be hard to do that.
They're still in it?
They'll have their day.
Yeah.
They'll have their day.
Well, if you want to keep your job, buddy, you better.
Okay, that's it. I renounce the Patriots.
Well said.
It's on air. Send that back to your family on the East Coast.
Yeah.
No, but thank you for coming on, Nikki. I got nothing else unless Dusty does here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Thanks,
thank
you guys. This was fun.
Yeah, our pleasure, for sure.
All right. Bye, Mustangs. See you next time.
See y'all.